Mel Gibson, Danny Glover,
Come on, let's go, Raj.
Oh, no, we shouldn't go.
Let's go. Come on, Raj. Don't be a killjoy.
Come on, we're back.
We're bad. You're black. I'm mad.
Oh, God. Oh, God, I hate that. You ever dropped a cigarette on... Oh, it burns. God. Jeez, I hope nobody saw that. Put him out!
Hey everybody, this is Cinema Gulp, and we're picking up on part 2 of our Lethal Weapon series revisited. Hey John, the magic is back. Lethal Weapon 2 came out July 7th, 1989. And the fact that this movie came out as quickly as it did and turned out to be as good as it is astonishing, because Shane Black, his scripts were getting denied constantly by Silver and even Donner, again, for being extremely dark and going, we need to go crazier and darker with this one. And they're like, no, we shouldn't do that. And obviously, just like in the first one, there's a lot of moments in this one where you know some of those darker elements carried over, because this one does get very bleak, though being somewhat bubblier, like you said, and more comedy driven in specific scenes. But this one was co-written. Well, Shane Black wrote it again with what's his name, Jeffrey Boehm, but also by the co-writer of Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins. The final script, when it was turned in, Silver ended up calling it brilliant, except for one thing, and this has been a big thing about Lethal Weapon 2 for years and years and years, and it's the ending. So the original script has Riggs dying. He dies.
They did shoot it.
I think they did. Yeah.
And the shot is still in the movie.
I think it's the... Oh, you know what? You're right. I think the test audiences hated it or something. Yeah. The shot is still in the movie when the shot goes way up and it's sort of the drone shot and you're leaving the boat, and he's laying there. Yeah,
he was dead in that moment. Murtaugh was holding him, and then they chose a different song selection to emphasize that he had not. I mean, that he didn't die because they added the dialogue to show that he survived and whatever. They did shoot a scene where he actually dies. I don't know, what Murtaugh's lines were or whatever to deal with that moment. But then they pull back the wide shot, and then it goes into knocking on heaven's door.
That's right, yeah. So Jeffrey Boehm's the one who took over screenplay duties for this and scrapped a lot of the Shane Black stuff. Basically, the only things that stayed was the introduction of Leo Getz and also the stilt house scene, which is awesome and really shot. That was really shot. I remember seeing a behind the scenes for Lethal Weapon 2, and they pulled that fucking thing down. Leo Getz was just a minor character in the original draft. I don't know, we'll get into Leo Getz. This is the first appearance of Leo Getz. He joins the cast, creates a really funny comic relief character for the 80s, I gotta say. Obviously overplayed, over-exaggerated in sequels, but I think he's perfectly fine in this first one, because he serves a purpose in the story, which he does not in really any of the other ones. I'll break down the synopsis. The two, Riggs and Murtaugh, they're on the trail of South African diplomats who are basically using their diplomatic immunity to be involved in a lot of criminal activity. Once again, Krugerrands. What is the case they're on here? The captain at one point says this was supposed to be a routine drug bust.
That's what I hear him say. It's like, what are they doing on a drug
What
bust?
are they doing? Yeah, they drop you. One of the things I really like about part 2 is that they drop you into the story. The setup, there's no setup. Like, the inciting incident has already happened, unless you want to count the inciting incident when they break into Roger's house, which kind of ignites more of a personal vendetta, but the case is already going on, and even though they're learning new things and all that stuff as it happens, I never really fully understand what case they're on in this movie. And I guess it doesn't really matter, because they took a different path with this one, where it wasn't really a mystery that needed to be solved. It was all about, we got to take these guys down. We know who they are. There's not a lot of investigating in this one. It's more of a high octane action comedy, but the case and the story are kind of secondary to, I guess, the ride.
The actual investigating and informing the audience of what this case is all about is kind of left sparse across all the movies to some degree. And they're like you pointed out, and we could talk about how even in the sequels as well, they're always doing something that's like not really anything to do with homicide. It's in so many other realms of police work, but they also, I don't know, like these are movies, so this is not how real police work gets done.
That's kind of the point I was going to get at, was they feel almost like the task force in this one, where, you know, they're called out to they're, you know, called out to go round them up or something.
Round people up, in detective investigative work.
That's what I'm saying. Like the first one, they're investigating a case, and the case is very clearly laid out on what it is. And this one, you kind of don't know how they got involved with this or what the tip was. There's little pieces of dialogue here and there, but the fact that it is sort of, and this is one of the much stronger things I love about the second one, is we're introduced to this new element, which is a team of detectives that aid Riggs and Murtaugh throughout the film. And they're much more present in this one. Well, unfortunately, 90% of them all meet their horrific ends within the same film. But there's other movies, 3 and 4 go on to like introduce a couple like side character detectives, but this one has this really good team dynamic, pretty much led by Murtaugh and Riggs. And I always found that really great. It was something I feel it was a good thing to introduce in the second movie.
Let's take a quick second to point out that this movie has 2 of the cast of Aliens in it. Mark Ralston plays the initial South African villain who's trying to get away, and meets his end in one of everyone's favorite scenes of the movie, where he goes to talk to his boss, standing on the drop cloth. What a great iconic moment in action cinema. And my birthday shout out lady, Jeanette Goldstein, plays one of the female cops.
It is too bad.
She's got a couple little moments where you can tell it's her.
She has a very, very unique, specific, and oddly convenient elaborate death scene. Like, we have to make sure that she is going to do a dive off of this diving board in order for her to die.
Yeah, like if she just chose not to swim that day.
Yeah.
She was originally supposed to be tortured in the Shane Black script. That character.
Yes.
John, my man, it's Jeanette Goldstein.
The chase happens at night. The very next day, we get pretty much just they go to work, and it's established that Murtaugh's daughter is going to be in a commercial, and that's going to ruin his life once everyone sees what that's all about. There's a wonderful scene, and you get the condom commercial, which is great humor.
Okay, so I want to get back to the point that you had made in your initial discussion of part 1, and that's sort of the goofy nature of the opening of this. And I 100% agree with you that it's a weird choice to start it with a Looney Tunes thing, and Riggs immediately having a ball on this car chase. What I always chalked it up to was we're immediately introduced to a different Riggs. He is still crazy, but he's happy. He has different traits in his character, which shows that good growth between 1 and 2. And I love how this one brings back his very reckless, violent nature when it needs to come out, but it introduces him in the beginning of the movie not crying in his trailer, but having a blast on this car chase. And that chase is so much fun. It's so much fun, and it's not without its violence. There's another little chase going off in a different part of the city, where people are shot and killed. It's a really fun, completely different way to open up the movie from the first one. But I always enjoyed it that Riggs kind of did act the way he did at the beginning of it, because it's showing us right off the bat, this is a happier Riggs. And then again, that moves on to watching the condom commercial, which is really, really funny. And I guess I always forget the guy's name, the character actor that's the carpenter that's working on the garage when he goes.
Oh yeah, he made me want to buy rubbers.
They want to make me go buy rubbers right now. That guy ad-libbed that. He was supposed to just be standing in the background.
Yeah, I liked it. She made me want to go out and buy rubbers right now.
And he said that, and it's like they were like, "Dude, we're 100% keeping that in." But other things that you get with Riggs in this movie, Wipeout. You know, you get he's doing one-liners. Again, he's still a serious guy, and he's still very reckless about his own life and, you know, personal safety and stuff. But he feels better about his situation, his wife. He hasn't let that go, but he's no longer suicidal, and it's such a nice progression in character. My brother's always said, I loved him in the first one though, because like he's so unpredictable. I'm like, yeah, but 2 makes you wait for it. And in the final act, there he is again. He's completely stoic. You get it. Yeah, like, I'm gonna get these fuckers, Riggs or Murtaugh. I'm gonna get them and fuck them. Well, he's out of his fucking mind at the end of it.
Murtaugh.
I need a woman.
Riggs, where are you?
I'm not a cop tonight, Roger. It's personal.
Riggs, slow down now. What are you talking about? Where are
Look, you fucked my day up. You care about yourself.
Just calm down. Just take it easy. We'll take care of it.
So yeah, I mean, I do agree. This one is funnier, obviously, with Leo Getz. I think after this movie, he overstays his welcome. I get why they put him in the other ones, but in this one, it makes sense because he is the money launderer, I believe, right? Is he the money launderer? Or the accountant?
But okay, so this is kind of back to a little bit of like they never seem to be working on the right case that they should be or in the right department. But then again, there's also this aspect of they're constantly either told to go do something or investigate something that's not supposed to be part of the main plot and then ends up being tied to it, or by happenstance they get themselves involved just by being in the wrong place at the right time.
Well, that's one of the tropes I wanted to bring up when we get to tropes in this one. This is the one that set the standard for the rest, where they're not assigned a case. They're just, this one they're already on a case, but 3 and 4, they're just walking along, and then shit finds them, which I always found kind of ridiculous.
So what's the big fucking deal? What the fuck are we doing out here?
But this one, they're on a certain case, and it steers them towards this other thing. But none of the caper makes all that much sense in this one, to my knowledge. And I've seen it a million times. Maybe I'm just stupid. They set up the villains as really, really bad guys, and there's a lot of them, and they're really, really powerful. So you're scared of the villains. You like the villains as a great contrast of what's going on. And I think introducing more of a team of cops helps with the reality of like, well, Riggs and Murtaugh, even though in the end, they end up just being the ones still standing by the end, with the exception of 1 or 2. Building on the characters, enhancing the characters, building on a scope of the second one. And I felt like this one wanted to build the scope. This one cost almost double the first one. It cost $28 million, which is still super low, but you can see it. There's some larger stunts and some locations and stuff, but I just think this is everything a part 2 should be, and ultimately just creating bigger set pieces, but again, all serving a purpose. The action's more exciting to me anyway. I think the fact that, what's amazing about filmmaking back then, the surfboard scene, the surfboard decapitation scene, that whole car chase, and the Stilts house collapsing, which was actually, like I said before, they did that. It was real. You can see the behind the scenes on YouTube. They pulled a fucking house down. Both of those big set pieces were shot in the same day. That's insane. Holy crap. Obviously, you have second units and stuff working on specific things, but
those felt like some of the biggest action movies had brought us up to that point. I mean, there's other stuff like Indiana Jones and stuff that there's a lot of big action in the 80s that was like the level of a top high quality action scene, was like a chase through the Hollywood Hills with the surfboard and guys hanging off of trucks. And now when you watch like a Bad Boys movie, which is just emulating what was done, it's the same kind of the concept of the scene, but it's so shot and edited and everything is so over the top that it loses something in terms of its kinetic action, the way it's shot in the Lethal Weapon movies.
We've got guns, man. We've got guns.
But watching them now with 25, 30 years of additional Hollywood action spectacle piled on top of this movie, those action scenes seem so small and quaint, but they're still filmed and shot in a way where they're kinetic and exciting.
Because it's actually happening when that house comes down. It's
Sure.
it's
always
you don't see any of these shiny edges where there's some CGI enhanced. It's a fucking house. Yeah, it's an empty house built just for this scene, but if you look at those shots and how all these details are there, like there's furniture in the house, and the way it comes down is exactly how a house would come down, because it did actually come down. That scene, the Stilts house scene, only cost $500,000. I know I'm saying only, but that's not a lot of money for such a huge action set piece with that kind of stunt, with that level of stunt.
Even if they come to you and say, look, we did this stunt for real, we really pulled this house down, but they also did it with computers too. There, like you're saying, the edges are smoothed out with computers, and the explosion is amplified, and the whatever, we needed more breaking glass, this pane didn't break when it was supposed to, so let's digitally make it break. Whatever it is, they retouch reality with their computers, and it's not the same anymore.
So as I said, the budget, $28 million. It was one of the biggest hits of 1989, came out in July, perfect timing, summer blockbuster. On a $28 million budget, it grossed $147 million domestic and $227 million worldwide. Huge fucking hit, and still to this day the most successful in the franchise. That happens a lot with part twos. Part twos can tend to, I always say your sequel is financially only as good as your first movie is good. So it makes people want to come back for more. I'm not a mathematician. 227 million, again, like 10 times its budget. That's fucking great. That's fucking great.
Ladies and gentlemen, at last, Danny Glover.
This is the first one where we get a love interest for Riggs. It won't be the last. When I say first one, I mean there's only one movie before this. And I'm so glad there wasn't in part one, because that would have gotten that one was all about those two guys learning to work together and ultimately care about each other.
He's got his dog.
Yeah, and he does have Sam in this one too. But I love Sam.
Sam's got a bigger part in this one.
Sam's got a way bigger part. Yeah, he's great. He's great. He watches him have sex. So this one introduced a love interest that I think works extremely well, even though you don't really have time to establish a lot of chemistry between the two. It's more of a physical attraction. Obviously, he cares about her because what ends up happening to her really sparks back all the crazy dark feelings that he had about Vicky, his wife, who got killed in the car crash. But Rika is, she's working for the South African consulate. She clearly doesn't like her job, but she probably just wants to be in the United States. I think there's little hints here and there that that's what she's there. That's what she's really there for. But so Riggs kind of stalks her and goes to the grocery store. You did that back then when you liked somebody. You followed them so you could ask them out. But this movie spends a lot of time with Riggs and Murtaugh apart. And I like that, because that is, again, you get the buildup of the satisfaction of when they get back together for the final couple action stunts pieces. But they are separated for, I want to say it's probably the whole second act, where, Murtaugh is off with Leo, and we follow Riggs on his little love affair thing. And that ends in this great, awesome, just Riggs. This is Riggs that we've never really seen. He's stealing machine gun. I mean, we've seen, but we hadn't seen yet in this movie. Just stealing machine guns and hiding under his trailer and getting up and just blasting everybody on the beach. It's such a great action hero action scene.
What the hell are you doing?
Is this 1014 Pacific Coast Highway?
No! This is 814 Pacific Coast Highway!
Sorry, my mistake.
No problem. No problem.
It's just like, fuck, this is the Riggs. This is the Riggs I've been fucking waiting for this whole movie. And then that gets worse because he ends up getting caught and finding out, literally right here in this moment on the docks, he finds out that the lead side henchman, the right-hand man, so he's like, he's taunting Riggs. He's like, you know what? I'm the one that killed your wife. And you were getting close to us for whatever case that was. But I was going to run you off the road. And then I pulled up this like soaking wet mop of hair to see this woman's face. Oh, God, dude, that is just... I don't care if it's convenient. It's what the story needed to get Riggs back to the dark side. But before he even has time to react to that, he does react. He growls and tries to fight, but they push him in the water, weighted down by chains and a straitjacket, which is earlier foreshadowed with him getting out of the straitjacket for money by dislocating his shoulder, which I have a lot of experience with, but I never do it on purpose. When he's going down in the water, we see Rika, just a horrifying image of her just... And she's just sitting there and she's basically staring at him, but she's completely dead. That was a fucking shock. I remember in the theater, just like, oh my God, like that chick's dead, So then our very first second, he comes up, pops his shoulder back in, and then we immediately cut to him just rage murdering these guys with the car doors and just breaking their necks with his hand. And the whole rest of the movie, he's Riggs, amplified to 11, mimicking more of his behavior in the first movie. And it's such a wonderful payoff and build up and wait for it to happen. I just fucking love it. It's fucking awesome.
I think it's one of the genius moves of this, like you were saying, the screenplay and the approach to this film. It's like the kind of starts off with the energy and a little bit more of the lightheartedness, and then you interject characters like Leo that add so much humor to the movie, but it's a build up to and makes you wait and have that anticipation for the Riggs that we knew from the first film, and you still get it. You get enough of it. It's not just like, because I think even the later films try to have those moments, but you kind of get it for like 5 minutes of the movie instead of a real section of the movie. Your point, like about the change in his demeanor and the physical side of him, like when Murtaugh gets to the Stilts house, Riggs won't even look over the brim of his cap. He's like in his own pain right there, and doesn't even want to have a human connection in that moment to his best friend, the person he is closest to in this world, and he can barely even look at him because
he's not going to let him talk him out of it.
Yeah,
he's in a fucking zone where he's just going to kill these guys, and he's not going to stop till they're all dead. And Riggs just plays it so fucking good. And like the scene you're talking about, I love it that you brought that up when he shows up in his truck and he's just looking straight ahead. He never looks at Roger. The biggest fun fact for me in Lethal Weapon 2, when the South African waiter that Riggs falls out the window with and land in the pool, guess what's in the background? Nakatomi Plaza from Die Hard. And you can see it, and it's both produced by Jill Silver.
Thank you for pointing this out, Ben, because not just for the fact that this movie also has Mary Trainor in it as a character, obviously not the same character she plays in the Valverde verse. She is a different character, but the Nakatomi Plaza existing in this movie, in my opinion, gives me the right to now connect all of Lethal Weapon to the Valverde verse. So now we've extended it with 4 new movies, 2 that are some of the best action movies ever made, and the Valverde verse now has Lethal Weapon in it.
Well, this one, to some extent, continues the trope of Murtaugh's house. Not really. I mean, he's building on a garage and, they break in and stuff, but it's the really big, not the first time, but it's Trisha's car. They introduce, she's got a new car. Why they drive that so much, I can't remember that detail, but they just destroy this car in so many ways. Even just Leo opening the car door on the wrong side and just oncoming traffic just knocks it off. It's hilarious. That car just gets beat to shit in this movie. It's so funny.
Well, also even to the point that when the toilet explodes, it lands on top of the car.
Yes.
Out of anything that it could have landed on around the property's perimeter, it lands right on the hood of the car.
So this movie introduces, and it does it really, really well, because it ends up pretty much becoming useful. I don't want to say useful in the other sequels quite as much as this one, but Riggs, he's absolutely right. When you've dislocated your shoulder once, it will dislocate again. It's just a fact. As far as him popping it out himself, I'm sure that can be done, but I would never want to try it. Now, in hindsight, obviously, you see it as a setup, but obviously when I was a kid watching it, I did not know how it was going to come into play to save his life later in the movie. Yeah, it happens in the other ones, but it's usually just more of a callback.
A little bit of the genius in initial scene where he's getting out of the straitjacket. When you first see it, you're thinking it plays more into everyone in the department still kind of sees him as crazy, and that's why he's in a straitjacket. And they're just, they're playing with him. He's on board with this. He's getting his nose tickled by Jeanette Goldstein with the dollar and all that stuff. Like, he's totally on board with this being a fun moment. But I always kind of looked at it as like, the crazy man starts part 2 in a straitjacket. Like, it just plays into his crazy side, but clearly it's there as a bigger plant and payoff for later in the movie. But I think that the straitjacket really does take your mind a little bit more to him being seen as crazy than, oh, this is just obvious setup for him to use the shoulder thing later.
Why the hell do you do this to yourself, Riggs? Well, who else am I going to do it to? None of them.
What a great line.
Why the hell do you do this to yourself, Riggs?
Well, who else could I do it to? I mean, none of them will let me.
This is the one that sets in motion a lot more of the police station banter and the getting yelled at by the captain. This is the one that really sets that off. And the other 2 movies after this that followed, where they try to team them up with other cops, didn't quite work the same for me. But now that Riggs and Murtaugh are just best buds, there's so much good banter between them, and their bond is so great. The fact that he's like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, when you two, Riggs, get out of here, and Riggs just looks at him.
Riggs, out.
Stares at him. He's like, I'm not going anywhere.
Well, and that moment when Riggs doesn't know how to bring the words out, like, he's wanting to tell him, like, I love you, I don't want to die. I don't know exactly what words he was trying to get out of his mouth, but the sentiment. And Riggs is just looking at him like he also kind of can't get the words out. But he's just like, we're not going to die here, man. We're not going to fucking die here. That moment between the two of them, like, there are some really great dramatic moments, not just in 1 and 2. I think 3 and 4 also find ways to have some of those moments. But 1 and 2 really, really do show their relationship in a very realistic, beautiful way.
That bathroom must have stunk.
Oh, my God. It's weird, the thoughts that go through your head when you watch a movie, a little bit more of a critical and not just entertaining. That was a thought that I had. How do normal people use the restroom? Well, you take a shit and then you go to grab toilet paper. So
why would you, if you want to blow somebody up on the toilet, why would you write "boom, you're dead"? And
of course not. I'm not gonna.
If you don't have that, though, he dies and the movie's over. So
I think the reality of a real life morning shit situation is there would be a shit sitting in the toilet that he would be afraid to flush because he doesn't want to trigger something. So everyone would be dealing with that sitting there.
Yeah. I know.
It's the reality of the situation. It would not be flushed down, and it would be there, which is
it would be there. That bathroom would be just brutal, man.
Let's go on 3. The countdowns that they do.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You go on 3 or 1, 2, 3, then go. All of those conversations throughout the next 3 films. And the other one, even though we kind of had Riggs chasing vehicles on foot, they kind of also establish in this one and every film moving forward, there is also Riggs hanging off of vehicles and fighting somebody while hanging from a moving vehicle.
This is the most violent of the franchise, coming in at 34 kills, which is, I mean, not many more than 1, but
I would have thought it would be considerably more based off of just, it feels like that much more of a violent film.
There's more like on-screen deaths than just straight up cannon fodder, like there's just more. I mean, you have all these cops that have their individual death scenes. It feels so much more violent than the first one because you witness a lot of individual deaths. So I think that plays a big part in it too. But I think it is the creme de la creme of how you make a movie sequel, make it work, don't make it. A lot of stuff, John, you and I have been talking about with this one. It does not repeat beats in the first movie. Yes, they're still cops. They're still partners. They're still fighting crime. There's still action. But it's a very different movie than the first one because it doesn't go through those standards. Getting called into the captain's office, introduce a case, go out, investigate, craziness ensues. This one is off to the races, sometimes at its detriment, where you are trying to keep up with what they're actually trying to solve or do, as we've mentioned. But I love that about this one. The structure, it's very different. They get Murtaugh's family out of the movie really quick, which you kind of miss them because you only get them in those quick scenes in the beginning. But it makes sense for them not to be in this movie because there's no room. And there's no, like you had mentioned, the time frame of this movie, there's just really everything is so fast. There's no room left for the family. And it makes sense to hide them away after the home invasion thing.
Actually, I guess that actually makes some sense right now because in the timeline I'm pushing, morning with the toilet bomb, that same evening is when they come back to the house to watch the videotape with the boat and get attacked and have the nail gun and all that stuff. And the family is completely gone from the house in that moment. And that kind of makes sense. It's almost like he had to hide his family away. They're obviously in real danger. It just happened that morning. That's the part I find weird is that like he's not with his family that evening. As a cop, I guess that's what you have to do. You gotta go after the bad guys if they're coming after you. You can't just
they broke into your house and showed you how easily they could kill everyone. So yeah, he's getting them the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
And even though it sucks not to see his family as much, it makes sense that they're not in it.
I mean, maybe there's a line that I'm misremembering or whatever where he talks about where the family's at. Because yeah, they're
at Trish's sister's house in Bellflower.
Got it. See,
he says it when they're walking back into the station the next day. Continuing my final thoughts on this film, I think it's one of the best sequels. Builds on the characters, I've already said that. Gives us bigger stakes, already said that. Introduces new characters, some who stick around and some who do not. But I love Lethal Weapon 2. I love it.
I love it too. It's up there as one of the greatest.
I have one question for you, John. After watching Lethal Weapon 2, I have one question for you. Would you eat chili with crushed Oreos in it? Yeah, he says it several times in the movie, and then he's making it. So when he goes, all I know how to really make, Rika, is chili. Do you like yours with or without crushed Oreos?
I'm not exactly a gourmet cook. In fact, the only thing I know how to make is chili. Do you like your chili with or without crushed Oreos?
With, of course.
Wow. I don't think I've ever paid attention to that. See, that's my point of like kind of rewatching this, not taking in every line of dialogue.
Answer the question, John. Answer the question.
Answer my question!
I'm going to go without.
Would you try it, though?
I guess I would try it, yes.
Okay.
Yes, are you going to make them?
I would try it, too. No, I will never make that, but...
We're moving on to part 5?
I haven't seen that one, dude. Wait, hang on. I haven't seen that one. That's fucking great.
Please don't do it.
I think both of them now look even older than that. But
I know, yeah.
That's fucking great. Yeah, I don't want to leave the Weapon 5. I don't. There was talk about it in 2008. I'm like, okay, that could work. But that is fucking 17 years ago.
Yeah. Like, mid-2000s was a prime time to either do another Lethal Weapon or a Mad Max that had Mel Gibson. They missed both opportunities. Obviously, we've gone in different directions with the Mad Max stuff, and it's fine. But we could have had, sequels with these guys in the mid-2000s, but now the time is long gone. I would not want to see it.